Woo. If you want to start us off, Daisha.
I will start us off. Did you want your slides up or just I'll just say hi and welcome Karina and Diane to the Give Local platform walkthrough, and everyone else who doesn't have a chance. The reason we're recording is so that we can put this online for those who can't make it, because it is a really helpful presentation. So my name is Daisha. My pronouns are she, her. I work with Melissa over at the Community Foundation, and one thing I will say, so actually, since there's only two of you, we'll go through the housekeeping really quick, but we'll stay muted until we stop for questions. And then any questions you have while Melissa's going through it, just if you want to stick those in the chat box, I'll keep an eye on that. We do have an upcoming workshop that I'm doing on August 25th, and it's kind of just a general fundraising and how Give Local fits into our overall fundraising plans for the year. And we're going to look at it with kind of some peer learning and looking at it through the lens of how do we keep our fundraising practices grounded in our humanity, the humanity of our donors, and the humanity of the community that we're serving as well. And then we'll do a makeup one of those on October 12th, basically the same thing with maybe any things that came up in the first one that we want to dive into deeper in the second one. So yeah, and then Melissa, do you know when the comprehensive marketing strategy one is? That one is on spsgives.org. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but I'll look that up and stick
No.
it in the chat.
I know, yeah. I thought I put it in here. Apparently not.
Okay, I'll stick it in the chat. And that's all on spsgives.org under workshops. So if people are interested in looking up any of the ones that are upcoming, you could find those there. And then with that, I'm going to pass it off to Melissa. And I just want to say one thing about Melissa before they get started with this. Something I am so grateful for working with Melissa is their expertise in these platforms and willingness and ability to just jump in and help. So I think that's a huge gift for everyone who participates in Give Local, that Melissa's kind of this in-house expert for whatever we need. So I'm really looking forward to learning along with everyone as well. So with that, Melissa, let's go through the platform.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. Yeah, as Daisha was saying, my name is Melissa. I use they, them pronouns. For those who may have not seen it before, there's also, instead of like Mr. and Mrs., there is an option that's MX, and you pronounce it mix. So just in case you ever wonder when you see that, how to pronounce it, that's that. And I saw something recently that I thought I wanted to try out, trying to give a little bit more of like a holistic picture of the community foundation, starting with myself. And especially since we've all been a lot of virtual stuff right now, not a lot of in-person kind of stuff, it's hard to get to know each other. So just kind of doing like a small introduction of myself, both in professional sense and also in like my home life. And so kind of starting with the professional, there's like these pictures over here. So I recently graduated in 2019 from local university, St. Martin's University. I graduated with I graduated 2 bachelor's degrees. One was in business administration, focusing on marketing, and the other one was a bachelor's in psychology. I also minored in gender and identity studies. So did a lot of things while I was there. This was just a little award that I had gotten for business expertise. I can't remember exactly the name of. I don't know why I forgot it already. But the name of the award. But then this is this is a bit of an older picture. I spent when I was in high school at 16. I started at Tumwater Fred Meyers, and I stayed on there for about 8 years. I left the retail world in 2014 to go back to school. So, but this was at my 5-year anniversary. They do, a big event every year. So this is me and some of my coworkers. I got a lot of, experience with customer service, and that's kind of where I fell in love a lot with, having those interactions with people. And then this is a more recent one. This was 2019. Some of you may, I think, I don't know. I don't know if you were there or not, Karina, but and I don't know if you were there either, Diane, but because there's quite a few people, but this was at the Give Local celebration that we have not done we didn't get to do it last year. And there's a good chance we won't get to do it this year, but we're hoping, fingers crossed, maybe 2022, we'll get to go in person again. But this was the Give Local ending of Give Local celebration that we had. So it was lots of fun. This is, slightly before Dacia, unfortunately. So don't have one with Dacia yet, but we will get one. And kind of moving on into like the less professional life, because some of you already may know some of that stuff, like especially my work with the Community Foundation. And on another side of me that people don't get to see so much, this was taken a few years ago at Emerald City Comic Con. I am a nerd in many ways. I play, as I was saying earlier, I play Dungeons and Dragons. I play a lot of video games. I have matching tattoo. I have two different video game matching tattoos, one with my brothers and another one with my best friend. So I love going to Emerald City Comic Con every year because it's just a big convention for nerds of all types. It's great. I also really love to travel. And so this one over here with the bear was a couple of years ago in 2019. I got to go with some friends from school and we did like a short study abroad tour over in Berlin and Vienna. And so this was that was my first time going out of the country, but I have been all up and down the West Coast. I've been to the Northeast coast of the States, but I haven't gone south. I feel like it's too much humidity for me. I can't do it. And then the bottom one, this was the first year back in 2013, Fred Meyers finally joined Seattle Gay Pride, and they had a float and everything. So I was still there at the time. So me and some friends, my little niece up here, we went and walked in the parade. And so it was a lot of fun. I have gone to Pride almost every year since I turned 18. But, exception with COVID stuff. So that's just a little bit about me as a person, both professionally and, at home. And so going into the actual presentation and walkthrough, just a couple of things we're going to talk about today. Quick agenda is we're going to go over some terminology. Then we're going to walk through a little bit of like how to set up your story, how to build your team, what transactions look like, and then some of the optional features that we have. So some of the terminology that's really important to note is in community funded, the platform that we use for Give Local, the word initiative is referring to the Give Local campaign. So that's like the highest, tier in our settings. When we talk about a story, that is your individual organization's campaign. So that's your little profile page and all that kind of fun stuff. A story name is in reference to is like just the name of your organization. And we have the story name do that because that is what on the back end, when I have like the big drop down list of everybody's stories, I'm only seeing a small snippet and it's just your story name and then how much funding you've received so far, how much like funds you've raised. So if your story name is anything other than your organization, it makes it really hard to find who you are and how to help you better. So we just strongly ask that the story name is always just the name of your organization. When we talk about storytellers, that is anybody who has access to edit your organization's story, can make changes and all that kind of stuff. So whoever registered for Give Local, they're automatically going to be the first storyteller. And then when you add other people, they would become a new storyteller. A kind of like, next step up of a storyteller is a payment manager. And payment manager is just a storyteller who has access to view the transaction information. So they can view all of your donors. You can view what their transactions look like, when they donated, all that kind of fun stuff. The only thing it's not going to give you is it does not give you like their credit card information. So, I'm going to say it's probably a good thing because I don't really have it either. So that is a whole nother ballpark that we don't mess with. And then a team is just all of your storytellers and all of your payment managers. So nothing too exciting on that one. So kind of moving on past like the basic terminology, the first thing we're going to start with is we are going to talk about the setup. And the main things, this like the setup tab is going to be like this main part of your story. This is where you're probably going to spend the most time prior to the start of Give Local. Once Give Local starts, most people spend more time in the transaction section. But for now, this is getting ahead of the game. So we are, I don't know, I didn't check this. Apparently it's supposed to be 5 sections and I put 4. That's because, oh, well, I guess it is because they added a section this year. So there's that. Minor typo. So, but we're going to look at that. And instead of just having you like look at a PowerPoint the whole time, I'm actually going to close out of the PowerPoint if it will let me. Oof. Exit full screen. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and sign in.
Melissa, you'll have the PowerPoint posted, right? So if people, for later, if people need to go back and see what you,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna, so yeah, we'll go ahead and I'll have the PowerPoint up later so that way people can go ahead and review stuff and kind of follow along a little bit. Which I'm also realizing that I used the wrong stuff. CommunityFunded.com. See if it'll let me log in. Oh no. All right, well, there's what the login page looks like. And I am going to actually pause the sharing right now because I realized that I saved this. I opened it up on the wrong page. So there it is. All right, new share. There we go. Okay, resume share. Okay, so now can folks see this? It should say on community funded, yeah. All right, so my screen does look a little bit different just because I have like admin access. So my dashboard looks a little bit different starting out, but basically when you start out, it is gonna look a little bit similar to this where it's gonna have the name, it's gonna have that, again, it's gonna go back to that story name. This is what's gonna end up being listed. Instead of saying organizations, yours is gonna say stories. So mine just has a little bit, just goes a little bit further up. So I'm gonna go into a test campaign. And so when you're in your dashboard, once you start getting in there, your dashboard's gonna be like this. And it's really nice because it shows you a little bit about like how many gifts you've rated, like what you've made online, what offline gifts. So this is a nice little like summary dashboard that you get, which obviously at the beginning is pretty unexciting because you haven't received any donations yet. So it does look a little boring, but trust me, it does get much more exciting and it's a huge step up. We didn't have this last year, so I was really excited when I saw this. But diving back into the setup, this is where you are to spend a lot of time. So here in the setup, this is your first page you have in your story details. This is your about section. And this is this little rectangle right here. This is what everyone sees on the main SPS Gives website when Give Local goes live. So it'll be a single picture, your organization's name, and then a little bit of space to put in a small, brief paragraph, either about your organization or about what you are trying to fundraise for, which, for some people, they're fundraising for like a specific equipment or they're funding for just general operating funds. Maybe you're just fundraising not so much for the money, but because you're looking for, some new volunteers. This is a good space to kind of like, here's a quick oversnap. This is what we're going for. And you'll get to make those changes right over here. You'll have the updates. You can upload pictures. You can change the summary. You don't unfortunately, we had a lot of issues last year with this URL string, and they still have it in here. We just recommend not messing with that because it caused so many problems last year. Uh, so moving, kind of going on is then you have like this little impact, and this is just this little impact area. This will be a small blurb that you can say to all of your donors in their checkout page. So this is after they have made their payment and submitted for their donation. This little, there'll be a little blurb that's from you saying, you know, like, hey, thanks so much for supporting Community Foundation and making sure that we can keep Give Local going for many more years. And so just a nice little way to thank them, just, you know, like the first thank you out the gate. This is also where you'll go in and you can change your fundraising goal types. I would just stick with standard. Calculated starts getting into like percentages and if you are getting stuff other than American dollars. And I'm assuming nobody is doing that. So, and then yeah, you can put in a dollar goal and or a participation goal. So you can have both, you can have one, ever float your boats. And when it talks down here about like count participation, total donors, that is each unique donor. So if somebody donates to you 5 times, they're only going to count as one donor. Or you can go by total gifts, so then it'll count 5 times instead of just the one. You have tags and categories, which are kind of just fun little, some of them are, they're kind of like similar to like a hashtag a little bit. If you use Instagram, a little bit on Twitter, but And it starts off on the main page of Give Local on SPS Gives. There's going to be a little search bar at the top of all of the stories. And then there's also going to be a couple of little boxes that automatically pop up that there is all of these different categories. So that way somebody could click arts and cultures and it will kind of like shuffle things around a little bit. And then it will only show people's stories that are marked as arts and culture. So you'll get to select all those. The other option is to also add some tags. And tags are just little blurb words that people can type into the search bar and that helps them find your campaign if they don't know your name, but they're like, I'm looking for something that has to do with orchestras. So I think there might already be one in here. I don't know. There's a lot. It doesn't look like there's an orchestra one, so we might have to add that one. So we'll definitely have to add that one. And yeah, so if you look first into manage tag selections, because all tags that people enter will be here. So across all stories, it's going to be, these tags will be here and you will just click whichever ones you feel like fit your organization and it's going to sit there and it's going to throw them all up here and then you'll save them. And then now anytime somebody types in animal food into the search bar, your organization will pop up. If you find something doesn't fit, you go back into the manage and then you can exit it out, save it. Now you won't show up. If your organization, if there's something you want to use to describe or like a keyword to get people's attention when looking for your organization and it's not already in the manage tag, you can just go ahead and add a new one. So this is where we can enter the orchestras. So we can do nice, spell orchestras right. There we go. Look at that. What a winner. And then ta-da! And now we've added a new one. I don't know what to do with the other ones. I guess double check if it decides to kick them out. Very rude of it. But there we go. So now we do orchestras. We have animal food, art supplies. We have a really unique organization popping up right now. But yeah, so you do that. And so those are just fun ways to kind of help people try and find your organization. The last little part in this area is the owner. And the owner is always going to start out as whoever registered your organization. So whoever applied the registration form, it fills in all their information. If you're like, oh no, somebody else is taking over and we want the main contact to be somebody else, you will click change owner And then it can be anyone who is on your team, which there's nobody on my team in this fake world. So there's no one else to choose from. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about teams in a little bit. So the next section in the teams, or in, sorry, in the setup, is we go into the fundraising page, and that is by far the biggest part. So I think before we get too far into the fundraising page, is there any questions, anything that you all have for like that first little part and just getting started and like signing on or anything?
I have one question, Melissa.
Yeah.
I'm new to Health and Hope, but I understand that they had done this in the past. So would I already have an account in here?
You
Or
may
do I
or
need
may
to start at the very beginning?
if you are new and you don't, if like you yourself haven't built your own account yet, you will end up having your own account. So you'll, make your own username and your own password. But then once you've registered your username and password, I go through and because they haven't quite gotten it down yet to where they're all just automatically attached. But I go through and then I attach any old campaigns that we have on file to your account. That way you'll be able to see any and all of them.
So would Diane need to email you to let you know that that needs done? Or does
Yeah,
it
if
show
we,
up on our end?
yeah, because what should have happened when whoever first, Diane, were you the one that registered Health and Hope, or have you?
No, our board president told me that we had done this in the past. So I'm guessing that Mickey Lofgren had registered in the past. She was the past executive director.
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't where I needed to start to get us registered.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so if you can, Daisha, put in the link for the registration in the chat. So you'll go to spsgives.org, and there's going to be a little spot along the top that says nonprofit registration. And that's where you're going to go to register. And I don't know which I can do this, once we get offline, I can double check to see if Health and Hope has one and community funded. And then I can kind of attach it to your account after you've filled out the registration. Because after you've filled out the registration, you'll receive an email like this that says info@community funded, thanks for your story idea submission. And then it kind of gives you a summary of what you submitted. I keep it here in this spam because it often goes into people's spam folders. So if you don't see that email right after you've submitted your registration, check your spam folder. 9 times out of 10, that is where it is. And in the bottom of this email, it has this login to review, and that's where you get to go and set up your account. So it'll build your own login information. Does that make sense, Diane?
Okay. Yes.
And if you need any help, feel free to call me anytime. Yeah, so that's what that email is going to look like. I had to do a fake one just to, just to get it so I could, show it. Because it always looks a little bit different. So good pointing out on that one. So then we're going to go a little bit into the fundraising page, which is where this is where all that prep time is going to be spent, because this right here is a preview of what your organization's story page is going to look like. So when somebody clicks that little box from the SPS Gives website, clicks your organization's box, this is your story page that is going to pop up. So it's going to have a little picture. There's going to be some information about your fundraising goals, all those fun things. And to make any changes in this area, you come over to this far right side. And this kind of breaks stuff down into each different section that you can find here on the fundraising page. So just kind of like quickly going through like from top to bottom, this page title over here where it says test story. This is where you can put whatever you want. So if you want to put in, you know, some like little fun one-liner that says, you know, like help us, you know, raise more funds to feed hungry kids. You can go ahead and put something like that. And this would just, so it's, you know, kind of a little catchy one-liner that says, you know, a little bit, again, that catches people's attention, that says, hey, this is what we're working on here. And this is, you know, a little bit of why you should support us. And when I started typing this in, you'll notice that it kind of like highlighted it orange. And suddenly the save changed orange as well. That is because this is marking that, yes, you have made a change, and it wants you to make, it's like a reminder to try and make sure that you save changes constantly, because it does not automatically save. But on the flip side, it does try to catch you before you try and leave. So like right now it says it's orange, that I need to save. If I don't click save changes and I try and leave, it pops up this little reminder that says, hey, you didn't finish saving. Do you want to leave? If you say okay, it doesn't save any of your changes. Or you can hit cancel and then save it, and all is good in the world. So then we have some more title and actions. So then you get the little donate button, your share button, and the share button is to make it so people, it like pops up like this pre-made little, you know, hey, come support this organization, and I'm supporting them, you should too. So it just kind of does like a little automatic so people can share your link to your page wherever they want to on the internet, I guess. Social media, email, however they want to do it. So then they have like a small little media section right up front. So you can put a picture. You can also embed a YouTube video. In this space, it does only take YouTube videos. I didn't have a YouTube video to put in there, but normally when there is one, it'll just kind of like when you put your mouse over top of the image, it'll have the little circle and then little play button triangle. So people know that there's a video. Then there's the different statistics. So this goes back to what we were looking at on the details page, that if you had a fundraising goal, that's a dollar amount. If you had a fundraising goal, that was participation amount. This is up to you what you want to have shown. I can make it so it shows me I've made $0 out of $0, or I can just not have that up there at all. So you can play around with that to your heart's desire. You can change the statistics during Give Local if you want to. All up to you. The big part is this body content. The body content is this main area of text right here. But this area can also have images. You just have to play around with the image sizing a bit before you try and load them, because it does not let you shape image, like it doesn't let you resize images inside the platform itself. You have to do that outside of it. And I will be sending out with this, with the PowerPoint slides and everything, a document that Community Funded put out that has all the different dimensions for different image sizes to kind of help you pre-make the sizes that will fit in the right areas on their platform. So then if to edit anything here in the body content, we're just going to go into the open text editor, and they have some pre-made different like font sizings and kind of styles. I put some of them here. So you can see, so like if you do style H1, that's up here. No, it wants to do both of them. I don't want both, but so then we have some H2, we have some H3, plays around with them a little bit. Like a lot of other ones like Microsoft Word and stuff like that, you have some bold, italicize, underline. You can do some of the, you can have stuff moved over to the far left. You can have it in the middle, on the far right. The slightly tricky part is with the, if you want to add a hyperlink, which you can add as many as you want, that's totally fine. What ends up happening is you will scroll your mouse over top of the words that you want to be included in the hyperlink, and it'll pop up this little box, right? These little boxes, and you'll click this paperclip, and then you're going to put in the URL. So if I do www, oops, wrong one, www.spsgives.org. So I typed in the URL, and you have to make sure to push enter. Otherwise, it doesn't save it. But when you push enter, now it highlights the text blue, and you now have a hyperlink. To go back through and to get rid of a hyperlink, you just come in and you re-click the paperclip, and then it gets rid of it. You can also add images. There's a little box up here that lets you add images. And click one and just bloop. And see, this is what I mean in that you don't get to really resize stuff. You can crop it a little bit, but that's as far as you get to do. And sometimes some of these images, as you probably will see now, it's probably going to come in huge, because that was a huge picture that I had in there any which way. No, I guess it's not too bad after I cropped it. But so yeah, you can do that. And then once you have an image in here, it also pops up when you scroll your mouse over it. There's a couple of different ways that you can kind of format it around the text. Have it text go above and below, off to the side, all that kind of stuff. If you decide you don't want the picture, you just go in there and then you just hit a delete on your keyboard. So I'm not going to save anything on that one. So that is kind of like the quick and dirty of that little section. Before we go on to the next portion that goes a little more detailed, these content zones, does anyone have any questions about how to do like the body content or image, like putting in like this base image or anything? All right, cool. So yeah, so then you get all the fun stuff. These are all a bunch of little extras that you can have. So let me delete that. So these are just extra things to kind of help spice up your page. And if you want to add stuff, you go to this add content zone, and this gives you a full list of everything that is available for you to add. So starting with community is just a fun little way to show people, like show where people are donating to your organization from. So it'll pop up little red dots wherever somebody has listed their address. Usually it just pops in by city. So it doesn't actually give anybody's like full address. And then it will also have this little like portion down here that shows the names of people who have not clicked the anonymous box. So if somebody clicks the anonymous box, it'll just show up as anonymous donated X amount, and then there won't be a little red dot for them. But it's just a fun little way to show like where people are donating from. There's also matches. So if you find, which it's always exciting to get to do that, if you are able and you have the time, you find like a local business, say like Ralph's Thriftway or something, they offer to sponsor a one-to-one match for up to $500. If this will show here in your matching gift section. So it just shows like what the match, like who's sponsoring the match, any details you want to put about the match. It shows how it's playing out, and then it'll usually keep track of how much of the match has been used up already. we do ask, and I guess we do require that any match funds that you have, or any sponsored dollars from another organization, that you're going to be posting in the matching section, those all have to come through Community Foundation. So you will have Ralph Thriftway send a $500 check to Community Foundation, put in like the little memo section, say that it's for SOGO's Give Local page, and then we will upload into community funded. So that way it just makes everything a little bit cleaner. And we also request that all of those have to come in by November 1st. That way you can be there before early giving and Give Local starts. There's also this rich text section.
Oh, wait. On
Yes.
that one, does the donor have to know that match is there? Or is that just kind of automatically done? How does that
They
work?
can, oh, sorry, no, that's a good question. Yeah, that's actually, it's kind of up to you. It's between you and the donor. So if the sponsor wants to be publicly acknowledged, so if you wanted to say like, I just made up Local Business Inc., you can highlight it that way. Or you can just tell us that it's an anonymous, and we can call it something else. So we can just call it a match opportunity. And then you don't put in who sponsored it if they don't want to be publicly
So-
named.
I come along and I'm on on the person's website. I will see that match, or do I have to go in and look for a match? I'm confused.
Oh, okay, no, yeah, that's fine. So yeah, no, I get it now. So you're talking about if somebody comes to your Give Local page.
Yeah, just in general, they don't know anything about your matches or and they're mucking around. Will they see it really easily, or do they have to go to a place?
Yeah,
and then say, "Gosh, I'm gonna click on that," or what do they? I don't know what they do. You know, they click on it and say, "I'm gonna throw in $10 of the $1,000 matching then."
no, that's valid. What actually ends up happening is either they come in, if they like want more information, they can find it. So it would be like, this is a sample of your page. So they're scrolling around, they're like, da, da, da. If you have on your page this section that has matching gifts, it'll show up here, and then they can click this. If they click this particular box for the match, then that's how their donation will be registered. They can basically add it, which, yeah, because it's not live, it doesn't have the funny little donate button right now. So, but there will be a donate button, and then they can pick specifically which, if you have multiple matching options. If you do only have the one match, the website, community funded, just automatically pulls from the one match.
Okay.
So like, even if somebody had no idea that you had a match going on, and they're just up here at the top, and they're like, oh yeah, no, I know all that I need to know about SOGO. I'm going to donate. Click donate. It will automatically count their donation towards that matching fund, because you only have the one.
Right. So if you had like 3, each like, let's say $1,000, but your goal is 10,000. So would somebody need to again find it because you have multiple, or is it gonna, because it's a $10,000 goal, they'll just fill each one up automatically, which is fine with me, but
right. No, that's a valid question. I'm not sure if things have changed from last year on that one. I'll have to make a note to ask. Last year, what ended up happening if somebody had multiples was, when people got to the checkout page, it showed what the different matching options were for that organization to kind of encourage the donor to click one of them and choose.
got it. Okay.
I'll have to double check to see if that is still the case this year or not, or if something has changed, and then I'll get back to you on that one.
Because I would sure hate to lose those other ones, just because of
Right.
well, they just didn't see it, or yeah, whatever. The people are just checking in, checking out really fast. Or not that
Yeah.
I have that, but I think it's a great idea.
I mean, it could be a
for-
goal of yours.
Yeah, yeah. Well, even an individual or a kid, could
Right.
challenge their friends. They put $25 in and see, their kids, other high school kids are going to come in and throw in $5 or whatever. It's just a way to generate a little competition and fun and potentially. So anyway, that's why I was just asking. I don't want to lose that match.
No, not at all. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Although
No, definitely. Yeah.
okay, so you'll find
Perfect.
out a little bit more about that. Unless otherwise, it ends up at checkout. They'll see it at checkout. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. If at the very least it stays the same as last year, they will see it in checkout.
Good.
And so kind of moving, so the next section after matches is you have this rich text section. And this is just basically another one of those similar to your body content, in which you will get to have a little like open text editor, and it's just extra space if there's something else that you wanted to highlight about your organization. Maybe add some more pictures if you wanted to have like a separate section for maybe some like clients or participant testimonies. This is what kind of that rich text section is for. And then you have some story updates, which I should close that. And story updates is a whole other section that we'll kind of talk a little bit more about. But for now, the story updates on this side is to kind of have these extra little, they're like little blog posts that are within your story page. So you could have like, again, you could do like a highlight of a staff person or maybe a volunteer. Maybe you want to highlight that you have a new newsletter out and you want people to go and sign up for it. Like this is where you could put those little like updates. You can also use that space to just make like posts saying like, oh my God, we hit our, like 25% fundraising mark. Like, let's keep this going, just to, kind of keep the page active, keep people coming back. There's also an ability that I will show you in a little bit with the updates that you can send. You can now send email alerts to your donors or to people that currently haven't donated to this page, but to like past donors from outside. So you can send them this like email that says like, hey, we've put this, story update. You should come check it out on our Give Local page. And another one is Heroes. So this is one that's always been kind of like a back and forth with people. But it essentially, it works one of two ways, either automatically or manually you enter. And it essentially is based on, if you do it automatically, you would set a dollar amount that if anyone donates this dollar amount, they will automatically be added to this little Heroes section that says, like, hey, thanks for donating this amount. Or you can do manual entries. I had somebody last year that they just did manual entries of various sponsors throughout like the year, not just through Give Local, but just various sponsors throughout the year. They just wanted to highlight them. So you can put them in here and you can manually enter in Heroes. Like you could change, and you can change this text so it doesn't have to say Heroes. You can edit it and you could put something like 2021 sponsors. So then you can put just a list of all your different sponsors for your organization throughout 2021, just to kind of give an extra shout out to them.
So you said you could either manually do that, or what was the other way? It just
automatically
tag it. How does it do it automatically? Is it something you have to set up?
Yes, and I will actually show that to you in just a little bit. There is another section to where you can enter that, but yeah, basically it'll just be a spot where you enter in a certain dollar amount, and then the platform just kind of automatically enters it in. Solid. So it is, yeah, solid question. So there are a couple of things on here that I can't have a sample of right now, But the funds is something you don't need to worry about because the funds are, since Community Foundation is doing all the payouts for all the funds, just ignore that one. Embeddable media is a section that in which you can add additional like websites and different ways. So if you want to embed, I'm trying to remember, that's what it was. So if you have like a survey, like you have an end of the year survey that you want people to fill out for your organization, you can put that survey in here and it'll just add it to your page and stuff like that. And it'll have that hyperlink and everything. It just gives it like this bold extra section for it. But since I don't have a code or survey or anything to put in here, I can't exactly show. I'm gonna get rid of that. And the last part on this fundraising page that's important to note is you can delete and hide any one of these little sections. So if you don't want that little map showing, you can just hide the whole community section. You open the drop-down tab and you just hide it. If you don't want it to show donors' names, but you still want the map because you like the map part, you can just click this donor segment section and it won't show anybody's name. It'll just show the map. If you don't want any of it, you want nothing to do with the community thing, you can just click delete, confirm, cancel, whichever. And you can also rearrange the order in which all of these show up by just grabbing these little 3 lines on the side. And then you can just kind of move them in whatever order looks best for you. The one you can't change though is the body content. That one is, this one does not move. Body content is where it is. But you could choose to just not put anything in there. And yeah. So that one was definitely a lot with the fundraising page. Was there any other questions about the fundraising page?
I have one, Melissa. If you deleted one of those and then changed your mind, can you get them back? Does it?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, so yeah, when you just go back into this, when you go to this add content zone, you can re-find any of them and then you will be able to click and it'll make a new one. The problem is if you had put in some information on it, but then deleted, it will not bring that back up. So this is going to be a really quick section. This is the payment section. You do nothing here. This again goes back to that funds thing. Funds are all coming through Community Foundation. We're doing direct deposit or writing checks to folks. So nothing to do here. The more fun one is the emails. This is again another spot in which you can, especially, if you're shorthanded, it takes a lot of time to write emails, like thank you emails and stuff like that, especially if you're trying to send an email immediately after a donation. Takes a lot, and a lot of us are really small organizations. So this instead gives you the option to send out an automatic email to every donor. So you would enable it and then you edit it to your heart's content. You put an email subject line, you put who in your organization it's from. You don't even have to put a person's name if you don't want to. You could just say, it's from the, CFSPS. And then if people want to reply, you'll have to have an email address to put in there. But you can also make it so it sends a separate email to you all the time for every email that it sends out. You can put in some images, little salutation stuff, and then you get to text and then whatever you want to say to folks. Thanks for supporting us for X, Y, and Z programs. Your, donation goes a really long way. Something to note that we found out partway through last year, and that is still on their list to upgrade, but it has not made it yet. So maybe it'll change before we get to the start of Give Local. But right now, as it stands, this little section, if you want to have it automatically putting in the donor's name, you can have it do first name, last name, if they put a prefix in there. The only caveat is that it will not include the spouse's name. So if they had a spouse listed in the donation, this will not include that in the salutation. So the other option is to just remove both of those, and then then you can put just a little basic salutation that says, you know, like, thank you so much for your donation. And then it doesn't have anybody's name. And the last little bit here in the setup, which is taking me way longer than I thought it would, but here we are. Good thing this is the bulk of it anyways. This is where you don't get to see the approval part, so pretend you didn't see that. And this is where basically you're going to go ahead and when you are all done with your building your profile page, getting all this kinds of stuff set up, you've done all of the little, like, you know, wheels and bobbles and stuff like that, decked everything out, you'll hit submit for review. When you hit submit for review, you won't have access to edit your page anymore until it's been approved. And once it's been approved again, you basically will come in here on November 1st or really late October 31st. So we're talking like after 11 p.m. And you will go ahead and you will hit publish, you'll hit display, and you'll hit enable. And then that will basically put your story live onto the SPS Gives page. And I point this one out because there is not a feature in which it automatically puts all of these live. So there's not a feature on the platform as of yet that I can just click a button and everyone's stories will be published, everyone's story card will be on the SPS Gives website, and it will not enable all of the donations. So we ask that all participating organizations come in and they click each one of these on November 1st. So that way they go live and you can start getting donations and sending people to your story page. So going on, the next part is really, those are like the base things that you like 100% like have to do first is your setup. We're gonna skip the updates because that's the optional. This is the little team section. So this is where you get to see everyone who has access to your account, everyone who can edit your story pages. And this is also where you can invite other people. To invite somebody, it already puts in your organization's name, their storyteller. You just have to put in their email and then you send it. And once you've sent it, you kind of refresh the page and then they'll come back here and it will say the team member's name, their email, that kind of stuff. And until they have clicked that little button that I was showing you earlier, because they will get an email similar to this, until they click this, you know, log in on their invitation email, this little space will stay pending. And then once they've clicked it, set up their username and their password, it'll change to active and they're ready to go. And this is where this determination of payment manager comes into play. Only the owner can can toggle this on and off. So whoever put your registration in for Give Local is the automatic owner, and they will have the, you know, ultimate authority to decide if you want someone to have access to the donor information. Or you can invite people to just come in and help you design your story page, but they don't get to access any of your donors' information. Which is, you know, definitely helpful if you have, you know, if you happen to have somebody who's like a third-party contractor or consult who comes in and helps with that. And then we go talking a little bit about transactions. So the transaction section only shows up for those who are a payment manager, but this is where you get to find all that fun information about your donors. So you get to see, there's just like the little dashboard that once, obviously pretty not exciting right now. But once you start getting donations, this will change. It updates in real time, and you'll have a slew of information. So everything that is, like all the pertinent information, the checkout page shows up down here. And you can also search for people if you need to. You can filter stuff. So you can filter by how a donation was made. You can also filter based on the status of the donation. So if somebody says, like, hey, I tried to donate and for whatever reason it failed or it hasn't gone through yet, can you check it for me? This will show up if something was failed. Unfortunately, it won't let you do a lot with it. So that's when you will just send them over to me, and we will get things figured out. But the other exciting thing is, in the past, I know some people, when they've participated, they've had to wait for the Community Foundation to send you the list of your donors. You do not have to do that. You just click here into export, and it will export all of your donor information in a Excel sheet. It saves it originally in the format CSV, which I still should figure out exactly what the difference is, but it's a little bit weirder than an actual Excel document. So, but once it's downloaded, you can change it to be an Excel format so that you can edit.
So Melissa, in this section, I've been following on my login, and I don't have the transactions page at all, and I'm the owner.
Well,
And so I was wondering how I make sure that I get that.
I can go ahead and edit that for you. So let me
Okay.
just make a note to do that after this.
And will I
And
be
I'm
able
gonna-
to add my accountant too on that, or is it just me?
Yeah, once I get you added as the payment manager, you should be able
I can
to.
add her
Yeah.
too.
If you
Okay.
go into your team section right now, will it let you move your toggle?
The payment manager?
Yeah.
No, it says you do not have permission.
Ugh, well, that's rude. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to talk with
Yeah.
the platform people and be like, hey, what happened? Like, used to be the owner got automatic like payment manager status.
That's what I would think. It says it's active, but the payment manager is turned off, and it won't let me in. So,
All right. Well, I will.
right.
Yeah, I'll check in with our IT people and figure out what's going on. But in the meantime, I can just manually toggle it on for you. So we'll find out what's going on there. Sorry about that. Good question though. But yeah, again, if anyone else has an issue like that it wants to be all grumpy, just send me an email, give me a call on the phone. Either way is fine. I can go ahead and get in there and change that up. There's also all these other filters. You can filter by dates, you can filter by time. I haven't played with it to verify again yet, but they had updated at the end of last Give Local to where if you have a filter on, whatever filters are currently set, that is what's going to be exported. So if you have a filter where you only want to pull, you're like, I just want the donors that made an offline donation. So people who sent in checks to the Community Foundation, you'll pull this up and then you can export it. And so that is pretty much all that is. Again, it's, kind of breaks stuff down, just more filters, shows you some summaries of all that fun stuff. Recurring gifts is not a thing. It's not turned on for this. So again, those are things to not worry about. It is a good time to remind everyone that, again, if you do have sponsorships or matches, the funds do have to get sent first to Community Foundation with just a note that says, what organization the sponsorship is for and if it's a match fund or not. Preferably if you as an organization, if you know that one of these sponsorships coming, if you can just send me an email ahead of time, that is always on point, because then I can like prepare stuff ahead of time. Like I can prep it in your campaign, and then once we receive the check, I can just go turn on, and then wham, bam, done. So any other questions about transactions before we dip out to the optional features? Oh,
When, let's say you get a check, will you enter it in so then we see this here?
yeah, we try to enter checks in within about 48 hours after we receive them. Because yeah, during Give Local, it's like we try to, you know, make sure to like keep up on all of those so that way we're not just like randomly adding them all at the end. Ta-da! And then, so yeah, so now we're gonna go and look at some of the optional features that we got that's available. So one of the things that we already kind of broached the topic of a little bit, but didn't go into too many details yet, was the update section. So this is that like little bloggy post area that I was talking about. And this, originally when you first pop in here into this section, it shows you all of the different updates that you've ever made. And there's 3 different statuses that it can be. Published is the section, which means it's live. It is on your story page. Everyone can see it. A draft is a draft. It's you haven't prepared it yet. You haven't sent it out yet, but it's ready to go. It's time for you, you know, like you can edit it. You can set it to publish whenever you feel like it. Archived means that it's something that's already passed. You're like, oh, this, you know, blog post is no longer relevant. You archive it, and then it stays accessible to you on the back end, but it makes it so it's not seen publicly anymore. But just because you've archived it does not mean that you can't just edit it and then pop it back out again. So like I have this weird little one that says, you know, about Giving Wednesday. Sure, it's not relevant on Thursdays, but it's relevant on Wednesdays. So you can go ahead and reuse them that way. When you are ready to go ahead and make one, you would just come up here into the Add New Post. And again, similar to that text editor that you saw before, you get all these same little features. There's a little, but this one had just the minor differences. There's a little title to it. So you can put a little title to a little headliner. And then there's just like some main text. There's a little font options. The other thing, and this is where I was talking about with those emails, is you can have it just automatically up. You can just have it click when you're ready to publish it. You can update it to your story page, or you can update it and send into emails, which you can either preset some email lists with some recipients. You can also pre-make some email templates, or you can just manually enter in that information. And then so that way when you hit publish, it's going to post to your story page, and it's going to email everyone that you included in your send to section. And it'll say, hey, there's a new update from Sogo. So in order to mess with the email stuff, there's the email templates up here, which I don't have any email templates, so I can just go ahead and add a new template. And I get to name it whatever I want. You can put a little email subject, again, the whole like who it's from, what a return address is. So if somebody wants to hit reply and like comment back to you, put in a little email. And then this is where you can like manually type in automatically some default recipients that these people will always get any email that's sent out. Whenever you use this template, this person's going to get it. So if I want to be tagged, if I want to be sent a copy of every time this template's used, this is where I put myself in here. Again, and then, yeah, then you come in here, you scroll down to the bottom, and you start building in whatever you want it to say.
On the emails, can you batch it, or is it all hand done?
There are batches, so that is on the next one.
Uh-oh.
So when I go here to manage recipients, yeah, no worries. No, you're good. It's always hard to figure out which order I want to talk about it in, because it's like they're like basically hand in hand, but it's weird. So I'm just like, just gonna go in the order that it shows it. But yeah, so then you can build groups. So you could just, you'll add a new group, and you get to name the group, and then you can either add a new member. So when you're building like an email, so this is basically like a listserv. When you're building one, you can either do it manually, you enter in first name, last name, email. If you want a description of the individual person, go ahead and put it in there. Or it gives you this handy little, oh, where's the, all right, apparently it didn't, maybe it's because I was playing with this. Let me delete that. Nope. All right, where did it go? All right, well, apparently I'm going bananas. There it is. Okay, under volunteers. I don't know, I just lost my mind. But yeah, so under volunteers, which is, I don't know, it's a base group that they made. I have no idea why it's in there, but it is. That's the base thing that they have. That's like the listserv number one. What you can do is you can go to upload group members, and this is where you can download a little template. And when I open it, it gives you all the stuff to fill in. So you can put in a whole bunch of first names, last names, emails, optional description. Fill all of this in, save it, close, and then you will choose to upload it, click it, upload, save, and then it'll just pile everyone in here. So that way, hopefully it's, you know, not type, enter, okay, type, you know, that's the hope.
Is there a limitation, and are they're only accessed by us? That's not used by anybody else, the company that owns the site?
Yeah, the company, so community funded, they do not access any of those emails. It's kind of one of those things that it does one of those, like, it's like, it's hard to describe it in like the weird technical terms they've given me, because I don't remember most of those terms, because I don't know what most of it means. But kind of how they were describing it to me when I was talking to them about it earlier today, because I thought of that same thing and I was like, I should double check on this. Basically, it's like one of these things where it's like it pops up into their like server and then just automatically gets like shoved into a spam folder kind of thing that just gets then deleted. So you have access to it, they do not.
And then is there a limitation on how many emails?
I need to double check on that one. That is one thing I did not double check on. So I will have to make note of that and put that out in the email limits. Yeah, I'll put that out in when I send out the PowerPoint. I will double check on that and send it out. I'm hoping it's not a very big limit, if there is a limit. I'd imagine it's probably going to at least be a couple hundred. So, you know, because otherwise it just seems a little futile at that point. But then, yeah, then you can also, if somebody emails back and says, hey, you know, like, take me off your email list, you can, once you have emails on here and stuff like that, and you have people's names, there'll be like a little, those, like you see sometimes on like your phone or whatever, there's like 3 little dots. There'll be 3 little dots that have you edit, and it'll give you the option that says unsubscribe. So then it'll just remove that person off your listserv. So that's the fun stuff with the updates. The next one that we're going to kind of talk about is some champions. This is one that we have, it's been an up and down battle for the last few years with Give Local and champions. You're nodding your head like you're like, yes, I've been there. So one of the things that is new this year, that as we've been asking for a long time, they do allow it now that you can help folks edit their, if you have a champion sign up, once you have them signed up and they're down here on your list, you as the storyteller will have access to be able to like help them like update their profile and update their email and stuff. You can do everything. I do believe you can do everything except change their password. I was told that I can, as an admin, I can reset the password. I will make note to double check, well, triple check on that one. Let's triple check on that password reset, because that was something we ran into too. So good thing, thought about it now. Recent. But yeah, so when you want to invite a champion, so champion is just anyone who wants to help you promote your campaign. So this is definitely especially a good thing for like to encourage your board members to do, or if you have any long-term like volunteers, because it's pretty easy to do. Basically, you set up a profile, you'll get your own little URL link that sends people to the organization's Give Local page, and you just send it out via email, via social media. Mostly it's easy to send it online. You could by longhand write it out, and you could send it in a letter or a postcard and stuff too. It just takes, it's just a little bit longer. But but yeah, so you'll be able to click invite champion. So you just put in an email. Obviously, the campaign's not live yet, so it's not letting me put people in there. But once Give Local is live, you'll be able to select your organization and send people. There's also, again, you can use that template again with the email list and upload it, and then you would be sending a mass invitation to people. So you're like, you know what? I need like everyone to do this. So I'm just going to invite everybody. But yeah, I will get some more I will get some double checking on the champions before we get anyone too excited. I do not want people to get super frustrated with it again, but when it does work, it works great. And even if people don't sign up as an actual champion through Give Local, like through this method particularly, it's still really good to encourage your board members, volunteers and stuff, giving them your link to your Give Local page and having them just promote it a whole bunch.
I was thinking that, if the option for me was to set it up for them, they'd probably bite. They've just never bitten before.
That's fair.
So, if it's just fairly simple, it would be great to be able to give them a page, especially my board. But they just would never do it before. It was just too hard for them. So I hope this works. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I'll see if that's maybe something that's on their radar, in which instead of sending an invite via email and stuff, that maybe there will be a future feature in which we can just manually enter in somebody's information, and then
I could upload their picture and some little ditty that they wanted to say, and whatever their how many people they wanted, and how many gift level, and if they told me all that, I could really put it in, and then they'd be happy. Really.
Right. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's definitely a little bit hard sometimes to get people to be like, wait, hold on, there's another step. Like, so I definitely feel you on that one. But it is exciting when you actually have like the champion pages, because you get to watch, like all this stuff live. You get to see how many times people have shared their link. You get to find out how many times, people have donated because they use that link. And when it's working correctly, it's always exciting, because I've done it before with other campaigns, not through this platform particularly, but with other campaigns. And it's always kind of cool to get to see, you know, like, oh, hey, like people I know, you know, agree with me and for this cause are like, yes, I'm gonna also participate by sharing or by donating money and stuff like that. So it's definitely a really fun feature. So solid points though, that if we can find out a way to be able to set people up without, and then just be like, okay, here's your link, go for it. So then we're going to move into the last little section, which is the incentives. So the main incentives that we have this year are matches, heroes, and sponsors. So talking with matches again, this is going to be something that this is where you'll be able to kind of see all of your active matches. At the staff and at the community foundation, we will upload all of the information and put in like the dollar amounts when we receive them. And on your end, you will be able to make stuff active. So you'll be able to put these little toggles that says like, hey, participation, this is now active. Because some people, maybe they want to limit it to like a 1-day match where it's like, for this day only, this match is active. And that can be determined at your end, and you can play around with that as much as you want. So that way, from your end, when you come here into this matching section, you can, you know, unpublish it and then make it so people can't see it on your page anymore. And participation is whether or not it's actually active and the money is being matched based on the donations that you're receiving. So kind of going back to what you were asking about earlier, Karina, with, you know, would, you know, the money automatically be pulled out if people just made a donation without clicking the match? This is where you can kind of turn a little bit of that on, with the exception of I do need to find out what happens if you have multiple matches going at the same time. But if you only have one that has active participation, then it will just take automatically from that one until it's empty. So, and then another one, this is heroes. So this is that section where if you want to automatically have donors be added to that heroes section, you will put in whatever dollar amount. So if you want it to be a $25 threshold, I saved it, $25. Anyone who's made a $25 donation or larger will get added to that hero section.
On my screen, I don't have that.
Huh.
It has everything but heroes. That's interesting.
That is intriguing. Let me.
I have no heroes.
Right? You're like, wait a minute. I want heroes. Let me see. Maybe it's something that I accidentally turned off on here. Where is? No, you're right. Where? Okay, so that is at my level. Apparently there is something going on. So let me get back to you on that. I don't know where that is weird. I'm gonna check my IT people, find out what is going on with my heroes. It was there yesterday when I was writing stuff up. So, and then it just magically decided to disappear on us. Well, that's not nice. Good catch. I'm glad this is good that it's just a couple of us, because it's easier to just have these quick back and forths. You can catch stuff that I didn't see, and like, oof. Yeah, that's a weird one. I will get back, but once it's there, you can choose. Once we can get that loaded back in there. But then the last one, that hopefully you can see, can you see the sponsors? Okay. So yeah, so then there's just the little sponsor page. So this is just if you want to do like little shout outs to any sponsors that you have. It can be give local sponsors. It can be sponsors that you got earlier in the year. It's just a nice little way to kind of like thank them. So basically you'll add a sponsor. You can put in their logo, put the name of the organization. Ideally, you want to put their web address too. So that way, you can tag this sponsor. Oh, yeah.
I have the sponsor tab, but it shows up blank. There's nothing there.
It doesn't give you this little add new sponsor.
No, it does on
Hmm.
matches, and let's see, go to rewards.
I wonder.
Rewards are disabled for this initiative. It says whatever. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we have the rewards and the challenges disabled because of the way the platform operates. It just doesn't quite fit with how things work out on our ends with like IRS rules and still keeping up with the gift receipts and all and tax deductions. So we
Oh.
have that turned off this year until we can maybe work with them a little bit more on it. See what
Heroes. Heroes just showed up.
Apparently you have to be a payment manager to see those. That is the trick. See there.
And sponsors, it showed up.
Okay, we're learning it as we go. All right, so you have to be a payment manager. Check.
Okay.
Note to self. Yeah, that's again, it's one of those things that like I don't see because like as like with the admin access, it's like, okay, you can't see exactly everything as other people see it. And I'm like, that makes things a little tricky, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I wouldn't have thought about it. I would have thought I just didn't have that capability. But now it makes sense now.
That's right. You're like, now it's there.
Yeah.
No, perfect.
there.
Okay,
It's all
so
there.
cool. So problem solving right there. So then there's the sponsors and well, those are some. No, click the wrong one, but there you go. Here's an old, fake account that I made. So it can just be when you're doing like your matches, you can add sponsors and it'll show up their little logo and then people can click it and get to the website. Just another way to give like a little shout out to some of your sponsors and to give them a little more like credit and to also, get people to encourage to be like, hey, this is also another organization, like they support the same causes you do. So you should go give them a click. With that concludes where we're going tonight. So is there any questions that have come up in the last few minutes? Anything that y'all like want to look into or that you want me to kind of go back and re-explain?
I have two questions. One is, is there any way to see what we did last year? I really liked what we did last year, so I wanted to see kind of what it looked like.
Right.
Yeah. So
no worries.
Any history?
Yeah. So what ends up happening is I have to go through and manually reattach them to you. So now that you're active, now you've activated the 2021, I can attach the 2020 to your account as well.
Okay, so it'd just be in the back end somewhere?
Yeah, so basically when you first log in, you usually come up to a page that looks similar to this. If you have multiple campaigns, it'll say stories instead of organizations. And then you'll be able to click which one you want to go into.
Okay, that's perfect. And then I was just curious, what were some of the things you saw last year being really popular, and that when people went online, they were like, ooh, and you just saw a lot of activity in there. Help us out.
Right. Yeah, no worries. A big thing that we saw last year that definitely really jumped up in like participation and it really like kind of like caught people's attention was there was two different ones in which, so I do believe it was, so Together did one where the executive director, Megan, they basically, she said, if we reach, our goal, I don't remember what the goal number was, if we manage to reach our fundraising goal, I'll go and jump in Long Lake. And so they reached their goal. And so a few days later, there was a video that they posted that was her and somebody else from the organization whose name I can't remember. They went and jumped in Long Lake. So that got people really talking about it, and it got people like coming to visit their page more. So because they were like, well, wait, why did she jump in Long Lake again? Like, hold on. Like, so it's like, it's not, it wasn't anything extravagant. And it's not like the video it wasn't like this beautiful, like, film thing. It was just somebody holding a cell phone, watched them jump in, and then did a second video talking to Megan after she got out. Like, it was.
That's great. That's very cute.
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun little videos, and it was a fun little way to kind of get people engaged, get people donating, get people to come back to their page, because they didn't realize the Give logo was going on, and then they saw the video and they're like, well, let me go find out what this is about.
Yeah. Okay.
And,
good.
yeah, Thurston County Food Bank did something like that as well, in which the development director was doing a lot, had several different like little challenges that like, hey, when we reach, 25,000,
okay,
I'm going to do, this, whatever silly little task. And then, they video recorded it, sent it in. It's like, oh, hey, we met this goal. And so it just kind of kept people going. So then they set a new goal and then did the same thing. And so like they met, so they ended up, but they set, the goals were pretty small, like mileposts at a time. It was, somewhere between, I think the first one started out like $500 to like $1,000. And then they kind of, as they met it, they just kind of like grew the stretch goal a little bit further. And I think they did like 4 of them throughout the 2 weeks. So
I'll say one other thing about what the food bank did and several others, but I think another piece of that was just they did a really good job of telling their story of their work and why it mattered, and kind of, so it was almost like it was a mix with them of back to basics, and helping people understand what was going on and giving people updates. And then, so it's really hard to separate out sometimes, how much is being driven by the need in the community and the impact of your work, and how much is really being driven by the more like the kind of gimmick things. So sometimes they work together, right? That it's like you've got to get something to get attention, but then that having that substance where people are like, oh yeah, that's why I support this work and that's why it matters to me, is like the other kind of half of that coin.
Great. Good.
Yeah, and if I recall, one of those ones with the food bank was like, if we reach this goal, it was like Judy was gonna put together like 25 extra like food bags or like prepared meals or whatever and stuff like that. So kind of bring, like Daisha was saying, kind of bringing back in like, this is what we do for work like every day.
Excellent.
So always kind of a nifty way to do a little bit of both, of like have a little bit of fun, but all, and encourage engagement, and then also remind people like, hey, like this is really why we do the work that we do, and this is a visual representation of what you're, funding right now. Like this is what you're supporting.
Great, thank you. That's really helpful. It just kind of expands some ideas. Thank you.
Right.
Terrific.
Yeah, and I think something else that's also just really important to kind of remember, and this just kind of goes like broadly for everyone, and it's something that's a little, kind of like we get hard pressed on, is sometimes we kind of think like, I don't want to bug people too much, and I don't want to get people like, there's like this myth of like donor fatigue, and that if I like send them too many emails or if I post about our organization too many times, people are just gonna like totally phase us out. And well, sometimes people get annoyed for a little while. Like it's usually very minimal, it's short-lived, and it usually doesn't stop them from donating and supporting the organization. And especially when we talk about like online, like if you think about like on Facebook, how many posts are made in a day and how many actually you notice on your feed, it is infinitesimally small. Like I get, there's like 100,000 posts from everyone that like I follow on my feed, and I look at like 30 of those. So, especially when it comes to social media, post a lot, because you could post the same thing every single day for a week and it might only show up on somebody's feed once, like the entire week. Post the exact same post, doesn't even like change absolutely nothing. But you post it 7 times, it only shows up on their feed once. So, but that once is all it takes to get people to come and donate or to come and support you, to volunteer, whatever it is. So we definitely encourage people to be like, you gotta, just throw it out there. Like the more you throw it out there, more likely it is that somebody's gonna grab on it, especially somebody new, Which that was also something really exciting last year, was we did have quite a few new, like almost, it was, I do believe 80% of participants had at least one new donor. So.
Oh, I just thought of something. I don't know if this is the right topic, but we've inched up our goal. Do you see any magic bullet of, okay, it would be good to just add this percentage or whatever, so you don't go too high or you shoot too low?
Right. In like your case where it's like you've done this a few times and stuff like that, kind of go off of a little bit of like, what were you able to, what were you able to fundraise like last year? And if you happen to have the data from the year before that, like compare, like, okay, how much did, what was the difference? And just kind of like get in a ballpark of that. Usually for a lot of folks, if they like, it's usually better to start your goal off low, because you can always increase it as you go. And that's kind of like the fun part. There's that, like the terminology is a stretch goal. So the stretch goal is a new goal that's made after you've hit the first one. So if you start out, you have a goal of $5,000, you meet that goal, you're like, yes, we get to celebrate, you get to engage, you thank people. And then you're like, hey, now that we've met this goal, we have this new stretch goal of, we want to reach $6,000. And so it kind of gets, it like it's like the stretch goals are to hopefully help like reinvigorate people and get people to be like, ho, wait, there's a new goalpost? Like, well, let's meet it.
Well, and I think one more thing to add to that is also, if you can tie that stretch goal into what else can we do? So so always coming back to what is this, next piece going to support? We've funded this. Look what we did together. Look at what this is going to do for kids in music, or, whatever it is that first goal was supporting. And now this other thing is in reach that would be so amazing to be able to support. So it's always tying it back to, it's not just about the goal, it's about the why behind the goal. And that can be a sentence. I think I say it longer when I'm talking, but like it can really just be like, oh my goodness, look what we can do now. And thank you so much. And it's kind of an opportunity to say it, to generate some excitement again.
Yeah, know exactly what Daisha was saying. Yeah.
Excellent ideas. Perfect. That's what I needed to hear. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I have one suggestion as well.
Yeah.
We just recently had a fundraiser event, and we ended up being more than we expected. And the board president thought it was because we had a specific item that we were asking to support. We wanted an EKG machine for the clinic, and we told them it was going to cost $3,011.89. And we ended up getting $5,020
Wow.
just handed to us in 15 minutes. So I think if you put some specific item, that might be helpful as well.
Oh, for sure. Thanks, Dan. Yeah, that's also exciting that you managed to get that much. And getting an EKG machine. Yeah, that's definitely going to be helpful down there. We had an example of that. I'm trying to think if it was last year or the year before. But one of the local theaters, they were raising funds for new seats. And so they're telling folks like, well, this is how much it costs for a single seat. This is how much it costs for like a whole row and that kind of stuff. And so it really, got people excited because in some of the stuff, like sometimes when I would go through like their Facebook page and see some of the comments on their posts, people were like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, I totally went and donated because like I've been on those seats and those are so old and so uncomfortable that yes, we need more seats. So yeah, I agree with Diane, especially, yeah, if you have something like specific in mind, that is always a good way to get people interested. And again, also what Daisha was saying is that's also a good way to introduce for like a stretch goal.
So I'm realizing, Melissa, we're over time and keeping everybody late on Zoom. So we should probably wrap up, but this was really good and helpful. I know I learned a lot about this platform. It's my first time on this end. So any closing remarks or?
Oh, just thank you very much. It was nice to kind of have it so personalized.
Right. Yeah. Thanks for showing up.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Nice job. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Karina and
Yes,
Diane.
Melissa, I will be emailing you if I have any issues with what happened last time, since I have no idea what happened last time.
Right. Yeah, no worries. Always happy to help. Yeah, I'm always just an email or a phone call away.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks,
Have a good
Trina.
night,
Thanks,
everyone.
Diane. All right, have a good night. See y'all later.